Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another Nacho Tuesday. And today we have Sandeep, we have Michael, and we have Koko, three very experienced sales leaders. And today we're going to talk about sales trends in 2023. And without further ado, I'd love for you guys to introduce your companies, starting with Sandeep.
Thanks for that, Andy. Hey guys, I'm Sandeep. I'm from Outplay. So Outplay was a company that started off as a sales engagement platform, but we've evolved quite a bit, and we're just not a sales engagement platform anymore. We are an all-in-one sales tool that helps you build the top of the funnel, and we give you like the options of sales engagement, conversation intelligence, scheduling your meetings, all of that in just one single dashboard. So that's what Outplay is all about.
Great. And Michael?
Hi everyone, my name is Michael and I represent Apropo.io. So what Apropo does is actually we're pretty much Jira for software estimates. So what our product does is that it standardizes and most importantly automates software project estimates, which is one of the very reasons why you can win the deal, which is one of the subjects that we're discussing today.
Great. And Koko, please introduce your company.
Hey guys, nice to meet you all, and thanks for having me. Koko Zarov here, CEO and co-founder of Nymblr. See, I got a nice T-shirt today to kind of demonstrate what we do today. We're Zoom for a lot more affordable. We focus on providing B2B salespeople, SDRs, and marketers with high-quality lead data for their outbound campaigns, which includes work emails that we verify in real time, personal emails, and high-quality mobile numbers.
Great. So yeah, AI has been a hot topic lately, as you guys have all heard. How do you guys see AI affecting sales for your teams and potentially other companies today?
See, AI is a double-edged sword, yeah. So I think it can be used the right ways. It can go wrong if you're not using the right way as well. But I think people are trying to crack it and start using it the right way so that it helps them with efficiency. Today, a lot of people are talking about personalization. But when it comes to at least the outbound side of sales, when you're personalizing too much, you might the scalability might get a hit. So that's when technology like AI kind of helps so much more for the salespeople. It helps them also get information at scale for different personas that they want to reach out to, or different personas that they want to reach out to. So it kind of helps build efficiency in the system if used the right way.
I have also one example to share here, and to add my 2 cents to what Sandeep just said. I think it will really, not really revolutionize the things, but make salesmen to be able to reply to RFPs or create proposals faster. Just to give you an example, 1 week ago I was creating a proposal and in response to RFP, and one of the questions set in this RFP that I had to answer was how will you ensure that the software that you will build will be as easy to integrate as possible. Normally I would ask this type of questions to my CTO, but he's a very busy guy. So I asked it to my new best friend ChatGPT, and tell you what, he gave me the answer. I showed it to my CTO, and my CTO actually said that, you know, they actually gave you a better answer than I would. So in my opinion, that's one of the practical examples how it can evolve or take sales onto the next level.
Great. And how about you, Koko? You're the lead generation king with, since you guys want to help.
Sandeep was saying it can add a lot of value to you if it's used the right way, but it's definitely not something that it's quite ready for you to rely on it completely. You still need to do a job. It will help you be more efficient, obviously. But I think in the next few months, in the next year, we'll see a lot more innovation coming from players like Outplay, coming from players like us, and everybody else that's in the space. So I think we're moving closer to, you know, allowing salespeople to actually do their job and sell versus wasting time on other non-revenue generating activities.
Yeah, and as you mentioned in the last webinar that we did, you know, you can never really totally replace the human element. So you have to be careful there, right? People, you know, salespeople are still very much safe when it comes to AI, in my opinion, because people still like to buy from people. So, you know, it's very important to keep the salespeople on the front lines and keep your sales outreach and everything that you do very authentic. You know, that being said, you know, there's a lot of great AI tools out there that people could be using. A lot of people are using ChatGPT and other tools for say AI-based copywriting, but you can get into a tough pickle there if if you rely on the tools too much and it comes across as inauthentic because the AI doesn't, properly read their profile or write a sentence that really, people are starting to get better at actually, determining if content's actually AI written or not. So it could actually have a, very negative effect if you don't implement it the right way. So with that said, do you guys have any strategies for people to implement AI into their organization? What would be the first step they could take?
So first and foremost, I think it needs to solve a problem. If it's not going to solve a problem just because some technology is there, doesn't mean that it has to be implemented, right? So first of all, we need to identify what is the problem area that we're trying to solve by implementing an AI solution. And then if it is actually solving for the problem, like example, like I'm going back to the same example of the outreach process in terms of going out and doing the outbound and reaching out to prospects. Maybe writing the personalized emails is where people might take a lot of time. So if that is actually AI is going to help you solve that problem, then it makes sense for you to implement it. But also when you implement it, be very sure, like how you said, Andy, the end customer, the end prospect, they're all getting very smart. They also understand whether it's AI written or a human has actually gone ahead and done some research and written. So I think there needs to be one level of check till we get to the space where we are completely confident that AI can do the job by itself. Till then, we need to have like a check in place to make sure that whatever emails or anything, the content that we're sending out to prospects are double checked for what kind of content is going out. Is it even resonating with the persona that we're sending to? All of that need to be checked, because then we are trying to see that if the technology that is being implemented is adding value, or it's just a generic email that might just go out, again, not adding any value. So all that, I think, still needs to be having a process in place, but only fix it if there's a problem.
Certainly. And it could definitely ruin your reputation too if you do it the wrong way. So it's, it's better to do things right, even if it's, you still are doing it manually, the old classic way, rather than rely on AI too much. What about you, Mike or Koko?
Well, for me, just copy paste what Sandeep said. Implementing AI just for the sake of implementing AI because it's AI is a waste of time, right? You will spend a lot of time on it and get zero out of it. So there should definitely be a need to solve a specific problem with AI. That's one thing. Another example that I can give again from my niche, which is software development, is the one that I have already given 5 minutes ago. So there's always a struggle, especially in software companies, to get time of professional developers, because they always have projects, they are always coding, they are always doing everything, right? And they don't have that luxury to sit down with you and explain you how software works for 3 hours. So instead of not responding to an important question of your client that he set out in the RFP, because your programmer didn't give you enough time, you can ask, for example, ChatGPT about it. And probably for 99%, it will give you a very precise and a very robust answer. I mean, it did work for me pretty well. So that's one of the examples how I would advise implementing AI in software organizations.
Great. Now about you, Koko?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good tools out there. I suggest just look at what's best for your business and what improves your business. Don't just add AI for the sake of, we'll use this tool. If there's a real need and it can make your life easier, go ahead and do it. But also, keep in mind that AI is not perfect today, right? So always spend an extra minute here and there to make sure that whatever you're generating is accurate, because there's nothing worse than pissing people off and smelling that you're just using AI and did any homework.
Certainly. And Sandeep, what are your thoughts on other automation hacks that people can do today or have been doing over the last year that's regardless of AI? What are some other automation tips that you would have for salespeople to kind of streamline their entire sales outreach and workflow?
So when it comes to sales, so today when it comes to outbound process, the only risk that we run is at least for the SMB side of things. The enterprise side, you do have intent data and all of that, but we're not sure how accurate that is. Sometimes sales reps might be knocking on the wrong doors. So how quickly can you move on and knock on the right doors? So for that, you can identify certain things through automations in tools like maybe Outplay itself. I'm just giving an example, but there are other tools as well that you can use. So you might be reaching out to about 100 prospects. you can identify who's engaging with you a lot more by using these tools, so that what you can do is you can concentrate more on the ones that have engaged with you a lot more, and then probably knock on the other doors at a later point in time. So this kind of gives the sales reps a more targeted approach. So identifying who your right prospects are, even through the subtle hints that your prospects are giving you from time to time, and then automating them and making sure that they're going through a completely different workflow and not making every prospect go through the same workflow, kind of would help your sales rep have that more targeted approach towards getting the right opportunities, building a bigger funnel. So all that, I think, if sales organizations can start implementing within the system, then I think it'll make life easier for the outbound process oriented sales reps, at least.
Great point. So Koko, some things will never change in sales. You always are a big proponent of, just sales are all about, it's all about the people that you're selling to, and the relationships are very key there. So what would you say are some time-proven techniques for sales that, regardless of all the latest trends that we have this year, are still always going to be important?
Yeah, that's a good question. Now, when everybody's talking about automation and all these hacks, for reaching with your customer, your secret strategy that nobody's ever heard of. It's called cold calling and texting, right? So people now think that their entire job will be done by a platform that's automating email or outbound or whatever. But to be quite honest with you, cold calling works better than ever right now, because most of the salespeople out there are just lazy. They don't want to pick up the phone. They're intimidated, and this creates more opportunities for those who are willing to pick up the phone and dial. I can give you an example. The other day, I used our tool. We had a prospect. We actually gave them a demo, right? So I had their email. I could have followed up. I could have sent them an email, but instead of doing that, I went to our platform. I got their mobile number. I sent them a text, and text is a good way because people are busy. You need to communicate with them the way they want to communicate. So I sent them a text. They replied right away, and 2 days later, they were a paying customer, and they were very impressed by that. And actually, it was their preferred method of communication going forward. So cold calling, texting people, getting access to high quality mobile numbers is really important. Having that multi-channel approach really helps, in my opinion.
That's a great point.
In fact, Andy, I would like to add on to what Koko said. I totally agree to what Koko said, because today a lot of reps are not very happy about picking up the phone and making a call. That's because they kind of add the result to the whole cold calling aspect and not bring in a human element to it. So I think there should be like a shift in the mindset when reps are actually cold calling their prospects. They need to be in a situation to understand that they're trying to have a conversation to see if someone's having a problem that they can solve for, and not kind of take it too personally and add a result to it, that if someone says no, that doesn't mean that they're saying a no to them. That's just that they don't have a problem and they don't have anything to be solved there. So it's just about bringing that human element, that you're trying to call a human being and then only trying to solve a problem for them, and not make it just an opportunity or a meeting that you want to book with that person. So I think once that kind of mindset change happens with reps, they might be a little bit more open to taking the phone and calling people, and then might not be so irked by the negative responses that they might get from the other end of the call.
Yeah, it's a very consultative approach, right? So you're there to help people at the end of the day, and the better you can understand their problems and have that conversation with them, especially over the phone. A live conversation brings out so many more details and information than you could get over an email, which a lot of people just ignore, right? And the problem is, we talk a lot about automation in this webinar, where it's so easy to just do an automated email campaign, and a lot of people rely on that, right? And a lot of people on the other side also have a very automated approach to just say no, and you don't get the sale because of it. But if you just get on the phone and just have that dialogue with people, you could actually solve the problem, rather than, it's easy for them to ignore you, and it's easy for you to send more emails, but it's not necessarily more effective.
Yeah, you're right. You can't build a relationship and express emotions via an email, right? That's very difficult to do. And calling somebody, talking to them, it gives you a real opportunity to make a good impression, to build a personal relationship. can really qualify them very quickly if they're a right fit and if you can help them out. That way you're not wasting their time. And you're not wasting your time, of course, and you can move on to the next opportunity. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but there is some sort of a new tool out there that's using AI to cold call people and generate the the transcript and all that. And I got approached by people looking for mobile numbers. They're asking if I can, help them out and give them the mobile number so they can cold call 10,000 people using that AI too. And I was like, I think this is the dumbest idea. It's been going around forever. We've had robocalls forever, right? There's nothing new. So I don't think that people appreciate having a robocall, cold selling and pitching you on your personal phone. So my advice is if you cold call, do it personally, get to understand who you're calling, can personalize the approach.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great point, because when I get a call from a sales rep that's like, that is personally calling me, I'm much more likely to notice that voicemail, for instance, and actually call the person back. That with a personalized email outreach as well, kind of hitting me from two channels. It's not really annoying, actually. I kind of appreciate that they're actually trying to communicate with me. But everybody's relying on those automated dialers right now, and that's the first way to just really tune me out. And I just from there on forth just say ignore that company. I might even report them. So with that being said, what other sales methodologies do you guys encourage your team members to have? I mean, there's value-based selling, there's questions-based selling. Do you have any recommendations there that other people can follow?
Definitely value-based selling. Definitely. So if the end prospect does not understand or see the value in your product, I don't think that conversation is going anywhere. So understand if your prospect needs the solution or has a problem that you can solve, and then bring out the value that your product can bring to the table, so that then it becomes so much more easier as a conversation. If that is not identified or brought to the table, I don't think today's salespeople will go anywhere in terms of that opportunity or with their numbers. So I think value-based selling is any day top priority for at least my organization and whatever I've been telling my reps. If you don't identify any pain point, it's not a qualified opportunity. So don't start investing more time there. I think the other rows knock on.
A lot of times people rely too much.
And one technique.
Go ahead, Michael.
And one technique that I have that I wanted to add that is kind of an addition or an evolution of what Sandeep just said is what I always tell my sales reps when they are going for a call or for a meeting with the client is that I tell them don't sell, and we even have it written with capital red letters in our sales room. And what I mean by don't sell is that a lot of salesmen, when they go for a meeting with the client or when they engage in the conversation, they always have this mindset that I have to sell something to this guy. I have to bring a contract. I have to, generate some revenue, which of course at the end of the day is why we hire them, right? But if you approach a customer with this kind of mindset that I have to sell him something, that is a 100% guaranteed recipe that you ain't gonna sell him anything. Because how you should be thinking is you should be thinking how I can help this guy. So pretty much what Sandeep said. Not how I should sell him, but how I would talk to him if that was my buddy who is asking me for an advice, and not the potential customer who has $500,000 budget, right? So I'd say that's the key. Stop if you want to sell, stop selling. Although it may sound cliche.
Yep. You're there to solve problems at the end of the day. And if your product doesn't help solve their problem, then it's not really your customer, right? So, on to the next person. But if you keep that strict focus on helping people solve their problems, and your product can actually do that, and your questions are pulling out that problem from them, and so you could better understand that and better align how your solution could actually solve that problem, that's the way to make the connection and help them see value in your product.
Exactly.
Koko, any ideas about that as well?
I mean, my only advice is don't skip steps in the sales process. And the first one and most important step, it doesn't matter if it's a cold call or if it's a demo that you got from an inbound lead. Step one is qualify. It's yes, no, and then next steps. No, that's the first thing you need to do. And the way you do that is you ask questions, and then you shut up and you listen. And and you'll be able to quickly tell if there's a fit and if you should move forward. And getting no is almost as good as getting a yes. You know, if there's no fit, this is not a good opportunity. Move on and focus on the right opportunities.
That's a great point. Sandeep, what are the biggest bottlenecks in sales organizations today, and how can they resolve them?
So I think the biggest bottleneck, I think, in most sales organizations today is getting reps to actually call. I think Koko covered it a little earlier, but most reps are afraid to call today. Like if I take a number, I would say almost 50 to 60% of the reps don't call. And that's exactly what I tell my team as well. Like today there is very little chance of a product being a monopoly in the market. So if you're there in the market, there are 10 other players as well, minimum of 10 other players as well, who are doing the same thing that you're doing and offering the same solution that you're offering.
Yep.
So what makes the difference? Knocking on the customer's door. You might be comfortable sending emails, you might be comfortable sending messages on LinkedIn, but I'm sure the other 10 companies are also doing the reps, and other 10 companies are also doing that. But if you take the number of reps who are actually calling, then that number drops significantly when it compares to other competitors in the market. So I'm saying try to stay on top of the calling, but I think that kind of takes a hit in most sales organizations, because I think people relate their cold calling to immediately getting a rejection. So they've not changed their mindset of, okay, I'm going to have a conversation with someone just to see if they're open to sharing if they have a problem. If at all they have a problem, then I'm seeing if my solution can solve that problem. If not, then we shake hands and move on.
Yep. And at a minimum, starting with anybody that's trying to onboard to your platform, right? Pick up the phone and call anybody that's signed up for your platform as a minimum.
And I think to a large extent, sales managers also don't have visibility in terms of how the calling is going, and cold calling is just not cold calling anymore. It's evolved as well. I think there is a little bit of I would call it a warm call, actually, because in certain ways, because you have so many channels in which you're trying to reach out to your prospect. You might have emailed them a bunch of times, you might have reached out on LinkedIn a bunch of times, so they may have seen your brand and your sales reps' names somewhere. So that one call that you're going to make is actually not a cold call anymore. So they are familiarized with your brand name and your salesperson's name somewhere. So, but it's just about having that conversation and seeing if we can solve the problem. I think the visibility is missing in terms of whether that call is happening or not in certain cases. And sometimes the call doesn't happen. So I think all of that needs to be approached with a more human angle, and then not associating that with the result.
Yes. Would you recommend any tools that people can use for managing outbound calls for their team, so they have like full transparency and analytics for who's doing what, maybe call notes?
Absolutely. There are multiple tools, right? Even Outplay does it, but there are competitors to Outplay who are also doing the same thing. So first and foremost, a CRM is Outplay, and other tools like Outplay are not like CRMs. They are like something that sits on top of a CRM that helps you do the whole outbound process. So I think having a sales engagement platform in place, not necessarily Outplay, but any tool that kind of caters to this use case will solve for this, because it gives you the visibility. It also gives you a more targeted approach. So kind of helps you build that momentum, and also the calling and encouraging people to do that. And managers also have that visibility in terms of what's happening with each rep. So I think having a tool like that in place would solve for your use case.
That's a great point. So they say time kills deals, Michael. So what would you recommend for helping your reps close a deal, getting it done right, and getting it done fast, so they don't miss out on an opportunity?
Sure. So what I always say is that the sales pipeline, of course, it consists of many stages, but the two you can group them into two like super stages. The first one is getting shortlisted, and the second one is getting picked out of the companies or out of the competitors that have been shortlisted, right? And there are different factors that matter on each of this stage. So, for example, for getting shortlisted, your customer is not interested in seeing a perfect proposal or a perfect super detailed price. Your customer is not interested in understanding whether it's going to cost $574.13. He is interested to understand whether it's going to cost 10, 100, 1,000, or 10,000, just to see if you guys are pretty much the match in terms of ethics of work, budget, etc. So I'd say on this very first stage, when you don't really have the time, and other companies work with each other to fight with each other to secure pole position in the race for the client. Don't be perfect. So learn what is good enough, learn what your customer needs at this very stage. Because if you will spend working 2 weeks for creating a proposal that is an Olympic winner game, it might win Olympics, but it will not win you a client. So just learn what's good enough and focus on getting your client on the call, on getting into relationship with him, understanding what's his problem, and providing him a solution that is good enough at this stage. And then when you get shortlisted, then you can master your proposal and and provide your client with whatever materials you want. So that's the advice that I would give.
Great. And Koko, getting to the right decision maker is key. And obviously, someone that runs your platform with a large lead database, what would you recommend for any business owner or salesperson to get to the right ideal customer? What process would you recommend for that?
Yeah, I think that's extremely important, right? Narrowing down your ideal customer profile is step one before you start any campaign or outreach, because it doesn't matter how good the lead data is or the automation or the content. You reach out to 100 people that they're not a good fit, they don't match your ICP, then you're not going to get any traction. So really, two things that I would recommend. The easy one is if you've already been in business, right, and you have 10 customers, 100 customers, 500 customers, and you onboard a new salesperson, it's pretty easy to go and be like, hey, let me show you some of our best customers. This is what they do. This is the industries, this is the use case that they have, this is the problem that we solve for them. Go and find their competitors, go and identify all the similar companies like that, and reach out to them. Then when you do that, and when you reach out to a similar company that you already work with, you have a lot more credibility, right? And you can support them, you have customers that are happy, that are in the same niche, same industry. So that's really the easiest way to go after your ideal customers. But not every company out there, not every salesperson out there has the privilege of having existing customers, right? Maybe you just started a new company, new business, new service, and it's a little bit more difficult. So in that case, I'll start with the use cases, identify who is more likely to have the problem that you solve, and then you start narrowing it down. Obviously, you want to go after the decision makers, identify their pain points. Because not everybody is your customer, and a lot of startups, salespeople make the mistake to think that everybody is their customer. I mean, we call it weird, like even with Outplay, right? You're a B2B outbound sales platform, but not everybody is your customer. That's in B2B, right? So somebody told me once, hey, who do you think is the ICP for Amazon? And somebody else said, oh, everybody's their ICP, everybody's Amazon's customer, but Amazon knows that not everybody's their customer, and they focus on a specific persona that they go after. So really, that's the mistake that a lot of people make, thinking that everybody could be their ideal customer at first, and then they can get discouraged.
Yeah, and it's much easier to land and expand. They call it like a beachhead method, I guess. So finding a really, really niche customer, especially if you're an early stage startup, getting a very niche customer, serve those people, then you can figure out how to expand that profile to a wider audience base. And I'm sure Amazon is a great example, actually, by the way. They started selling books, right? So their customer was people that were interested in buying books online as opposed to going in the store. Now they have pretty much everything. And their ideal customer profile for AWS is going to be different than their ideal customer profile for the marketplace buying shoes. So that's a great point. So Michael, a lot of inexperienced business professionals don't understand contracts well. So if we were going to give a crash course today, what would you recommend to look out for in these contracts, especially when it comes to software contracts? There's a lot of gotchas in there.
Well, the first and the biggest advice that I would give here is read them. So that's my number one advice for every contract. Start reading them. And the second advice that will help you as well is understand and really believe that all what's written in there will be used either in your favor or against you. Like sooner or later, it will happen. So stop believing that that things will always be good and they will never break. Because ultimately, that's what the contracts are for. They are for the bad times, right? So I can promise you that it will happen to you sooner or later. That you will have to refer to the contract in some dispute, right? So in such case, it's better that you have this contract written in a way that it helps you. And the third advice that I would give here is it's always good to review them with the lawyers, but you have to be careful what lawyer you pick, because if you pick a lawyer who doesn't understand the industry or is just too scrupulous, he may as well kill the deal, because he will bring up 50 comments, out of which 48 refer to things that generally never happen or are totally irrelevant for this particular client, and you will spend next 3 or 4 months fighting with client over each of these comments, while you could have as well comment on 3, 4, maybe 5 items that are really critical and prone to happening. So these are the top 3 advices that I would give out of my experience to any entrepreneur who starts a business and hasn't yet tasted this bitter side of legal stuff.
Yeah, and if you're going to look at a couple sections, you could just glance down to and shortcut the whole thing. Obviously, the termination clause is very important. What other clauses would you recommend that people beeline towards if they want to just get put in 20% of the effort to understand 80% of the contract?
Sure. So for sure, the termination. The second thing would be what are the rules what are the reasons for termination, if there are given any specific reasons. The other things I would definitely recommend checking is are the commercial terms, but not really the rate card, because that's obvious. I mean, who pays for what? So of course, especially in software contracts, you have fixed price, you have time and materials, you have team leasing, etc. So in case if the project goes over the budget, who pays for it, right? That's very important. And one advice that I do have here also, especially for young entrepreneurs, is add to all your contracts consent for the client that he consents to use his or their logo or project description as a form of case study, because that will massively help your business. The thing is that if you will put it in the contract by default and the client will read it, he will most probably just scan it with eyes and just agree with it. So just have it in all your default contracts. That will really massively help you gain future customers, because you will have case studies and some big brands that you will be able to brag about.
That's a great point.
Can I ask you a question, Michael? Because you spoke about contracts.
Go ahead.
And when I've been an individual contributor, now I'm a sales leader. Still, this clause kind of keeps coming up with most deals that we're trying to close. At least I would say it's a 50-50. People talk about indemnification. When there's a breach in terms of data or anything, indemnification becomes like a clause that most people want coverage. Some people ask for unlimited indemnification, and some people are okay with a limited indemnity. So how do you handle that? How do you see that as a challenge when it comes to contracts?
Sure. So of course, now it depends what kind of contract are you reviewing, because it may be a contract for product and it may be a contract for service. In terms of service, well, actually, I never had a situation in service contracts where the clients wanted unlimited indemnification. I mean, for example, for the entire contract amount, right? Usually, how we solve it is that we agree with the client that the maximum indemnification can be up to, depending on the client, up to 3 or 6 months of the recently paid fees. So that is maximum that we agree. We usually never go above 3 months. But I'll tell you what, things would have to go really, really downwards, and really downwards for the client to ever use it. I mean, it would mean that you effectively are having very, very bad relationship, are threatening each other, and so on. Because usually when things get a little bit worse. And I had the situation 1 or 2 times in my career at different companies. It usually just ends with some sort of mutual agreement about how you're going to settle the things, right? And you know, at the end of the day, these guys are people as well. Their business is not to chase you and to go with you to the court, because it costs money, it costs time, which is even more valuable than money. So they usually will just want to be treated fair. So that's how we handle it. I mean, usually up to 3 months worth of fees, but realistically, we never ever I never ever had a situation when client was even referring to this clause.
Great points. Well, guys, thanks again for joining us today to discuss sales trends in 2023. Now, we talked a lot about a lot of very exciting automation and AI things, as well as other trends for sales today. But nobody should ever forget that sales is really just about people helping other people. So that's another key concept that I really believe came out of this conversation. And I think still, regardless of everything happening out there in the market with technology, people just you got to pick up the phone and call people, have that personal relationship, and just be there to actually help people solve their problems. And that's the key to success in your sales organization. So once again, thank you so much, guys. Everybody should check out their products in the B2B SaaS marketplace. So we have them all listed there. We have Outplay, Apropo, and Nymblr available today for a nice little cashback in the NachoNacho B2B SaaS marketplace, the #1 place to manage, discover, and save on SaaS. And once again, Sandeep, Michael, and Koko, appreciate you guys coming on today, and look forward to working with you guys long term.
Likewise, thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity, Andy.
Great, thank you so much.
Nice meeting you, Michael, Koko. Have a nice day.
Nice meeting you.